What's up, everyone, and welcome to Clear Talk. So today, as you see in the description, in the title, um, man, today was crazy. Today was a wild one. Today was a huge, but like surprise, but like in a good way. Uh, she did it. She picked the right running mate. um, I think left America, particularly progressives, um, are hopping, jumping for joy. um, man, I hate the fact that I don't do this for a living. Because I could have actually been able to like hit this right out the gate first thing this morning, like everybody else got to. But um, but the one good thing is what we can do. They did have the rally in Pennsylvania about a couple hours ago, and I've got it pulled up. I have watched it. It was quite frankly a fantastic rally. I don't see how anyone can argue that the excitement and buzz and just this is, I mean, I don't even know how to speak about it. It was a great. I mean, the momentum is just out of this world right now for Kamala, and now with Tim Walz as her VP candidate, running mate. Um, this is huge. This is massive, uh, and you can hear it. You can hear it all through the rally. Um, the building or stadium that they're in, or whatever, can hold, I think, around 10,000. It was packed full. It was packed full. And you can hear it. It's deafening at times. Um, it was crazy. So yeah, she first thing this morning it come out. I think it dropped on like Twitter from someone from CNN that that her pick was Tim Waltz. It had pretty basically come down between him and Shapiro from Pennsylvania. If you don't know, Tim Waltz is from Minnesota. He's probably was the least known, I would probably think, of the candidates that were, potential candidates that have been talked about. He was kind of late to the talk. Um, he wasn't one of the initial ones that people thought was going to be in it, in the running, but he quickly was thrown in there. Uh, well, kind of at the last minute, really, but he was thrown in and he went to town. He went out there in TV interviews and everything else, and he was the one hitting hard on he, I mean, basically went into campaign mode. He was hitting hard on Trump, hitting hard on JD, hitting and just speaking his truth, and I think it wound up winning Kamala over. I mean, he's the one that kind of come up with the or threw out the weird thing that's been going huge. He particularly was talking about uh, Trump and JD specifically when he said it. That they're just weird. When he stated it the first time, and immediately when Kamala took it and was running with that in her rallies previous to this, um, I had a sneaky suspicion that like that he was on the top of her mind. I knew she had a list, and but he quickly apparently got in her good graces, like quick, like. I mean, they've apparently know each other and they've worked together. He was previously a senator, um, uh, and so it is. They've they've crossed paths. It's not like they don't know each other. And according to reports, they always got along very well. Or him and Biden apparently got along very well. Him and Pelosi got along very well. But understand that he is very much, or at least since he has become governor, um, he has been highly progressive. He is arguably the most progressive governor in the United States, with all the stuff that he has been able to get done in Minnesota and with a thin majority in the Congress there, in the local state Congress. Um, so it is just he's huge and was clearly progressive. Um, uh, I just like wet dream to become VP pick. I mean, it was so. Matter of fact, it was like there's no way that he is too damn good. He is too damn progressive. He's too damn good for them to pick him. Like, there's just no way. Democrats have never made that kind of move before. They've always pushed against it. I mean, we've seen in the past, two cycles what they've done to Bernie Sanders, and any progressive that tries to make this type of leap. But let me tell you, Tim Walz is like a Bernie Sanders 2.0. He's like the new age Bernie Sanders, um, and you could argue that he even maybe bit somewhat better than Bernie Sanders. Um, Simply in the fact that he doesn't have a problem at targeting and arguing against certain things. Now Bernie does too, but he also sometimes has his way of being a little soft. Um, but this guy, he goes hard. He goes right at it. I've been quite impressed with all the things, and I've known about him for a little while, especially since all the stuff that he has done in Minnesota, from like his big thing that he's known for is um, public school, statewide, feeding, breakfast and lunch, free meals in all public schools to kids, uh, statewide. So that was a huge one in that state. But he's also done big like gun reforms and stuff, uh, no flag laws, and pushing for smart regulation around guns and stuff. But he is very pro gun himself. I mean, he's very Second Amendment pro gun and stuff. As you'll see in the video, they talk about how as a senator he was known as the like marksman in the group. They all apparently go to these like things where they shoot range or whatever, and he was the top marksman. I mean, he very well knows guns. He very well has been around guns and everything, but he also is smart when it comes to legislation around it, um, uh, the background checks and stuff like that. So that's what he did in Minnesota there, but he's also done um, uh, uh, universal or sick leave and maternity leave stuff in the state, um, and he's man, I can't think of all the stuff he's done. He's done so many things. Uh, Raised the minimum wage there. Um, I mean, every like major progressive idea you could think of, he has done, and is highly liked in the state of Minnesota. Um, but like I said, it came down between him and Shapiro, who was from Pennsylvania. Josh Shapiro, who on paper probably would have been the if they were trying to just fit the establishment Democrat, he would have fit that he would have fit that mold. Um, and he's one of the most popular governors in the U.S. Most certainly popular in Pennsylvania, which is a big, flip state, battleground state. Minnesota, not quite as much. So a lot of people were thinking, okay, and especially since this rally was in Pennsylvania, there was an early speculation that Shapiro was apparently the pick, because being in Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania is a big battleground state, and it just made somewhat like calculated sense from what you typically see from the Democratic Party. He would have been the pick, but there was like so many handicaps really when it come to him. Things that have come up here recently, probably because he was the leading one. A lot of stuff started coming out that well, there was some stuff that was already known. It was already in the eye of media, but then there was other stuff that started coming out too, and so he had a lot of dirt that could be thrown easily and quickly from the Republican Party and RNC and Trump and whatever, um, that would have automatically given them kind of a handicap if they did pick him. It was, and because of that, it was kind of odd that he actually did come down to like this, or apparently it seemed like he was second choice. Um, uh, but like I said, Tim Walz. If you were to ask anybody, especially any progressive and stuff, yesterday, would was Tim Walz going to be the pick, and you would have we would have all said, probably not. Um, but apparently, potentially, especially in the last like 24 hours, um, or 48 hours or so, he has had a major surge in like um, popularity for the position, and like polls and stuff that were being done. People, yeah, I think it was like I think I've seen where it was like 70% of people didn't even know who he was, but like as soon as they get to know him, or see things that he's done, and even just see a couple of videos on him, all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, I like this dude. He's cool, and he's doing stuff, and this is no matter, this is even from people that were supporters of other candidates, supporters of Shapiro, supporters of um, Bashir, or um, who was the guy from Arizona. Anyways, I mean that as soon as they saw stuff on Tim Walsh, it was like Waltz. It was like, okay, yeah, this dude's good. So, anyways, we're gonna get into this rally. It is long, so this will be a long video, but I wanted to run with it through you, and first we have Kamala getting up and speaking, and doing her thing. She is the majority of it, but he does have a close to about 20 minutes at the end that he speaks. So it's so yeah, she goes for about 30 minutes. He goes for about 20 minutes. So it's it's pretty rounded, not too bad. Um, but yeah, let me swap over here, and let's get to it.
Good evening, Philadelphia.
And yes, this is Tim Walsh.
Good evening.
I,
Good evening. Good evening.
and if you're wondering age or anything like that, he is 60. She's 59, so they're right there, same age. Um, so uh, you know, yes, he's a 60-year-old white guy, um, with a straight up blue collar background, um, down to earth, regular guy. Um, so uh, kind of a contrast to her being the um, you know girl from California, that was a prosecutor and stuff like that. Even though she also comes from a uh, more white, blue collar, like, background, family wise and whatnot. Um, she's often not really looked at that way, but
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Oh, it is good to be back in Pennsylvania. So let me say, on behalf of myself and the first, second gentleman of the United States, my husband, Doug Emhoff, thank you for the warm welcome. Elect this November, Senator John Fetterman.
yeah, she goes through a couple of let's get to her where she actually starts talking.
So,
Maybe shorten this up a little bit.
Philadelphia, I launched my campaign for the President of the United States a mere 2 weeks ago. And it's been a bit of a whirlwind. And just last night, the delegates to the Democratic National Convention finished voting.
Yeah, they did go ahead and go through with the early voting, and she did get completely nominated officially
I stand
as the.
before you today to proudly announce I am now officially the Democratic nominee for President of the United States. And so now we got some work to do. We need to move to the general election and win that. And to all the friends, listen, we also need to level set. We are the underdogs in this race. But we have
I'm not sure
the
that's going to be the
momentum,
case much longer,
and
though.
I know exactly what we are up against.
She's going to do her
Now, many of
go-to
you know,
attack right now.
before I was elected
It's good,
vice
though.
president or elected a United States senator, I was an elected attorney general, and before that, elected district attorney.
Although there is some dirt that could be thrown on that, honestly.
And before
But
that, I was a courtroom prosecutor.
her point here still stands.
So in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women. Fraudsters who scammed consumers. Cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say,
She could have sped this through a little bit,
I
but
know Donald Trump's type.
she did stretch this section out a little bit. I thought she could have sped it up, but whatever.
So, but, let me just say, hold on. This campaign, our campaign, is not just a fight against Donald Trump. Our campaign, this campaign, is a fight for the future. It's a fight for the future. In Pennsylvania, we fight for a future with affordable housing, affordable health care, affordable child care, paid leave. We fight for a future where we build a broad-based economy, where every American has the opportunity to own a home, to start a business, and to build wealth. We fight for a future where we bring down prices that are still too high and lower the cost of living for America's families, so that they have a chance not just to get by, but to get ahead.
Now, she says a lot of stuff here, okay? And it's up to us to hold her to it.
We fight for a future where we defend our most fundamental
But we have it on
freedoms.
record, and you're
The
going to see.
freedom to vote. The freedom to be safe from gun violence. The freedom to love who you love openly and with pride. And the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body, not having her government tell her what to do.
And all this stuff is knocking Republicans, like, over the head. It just is.
So, I love you too. So here's the thing. Since the day that I announced my candidacy, I set out to find a partner who can help build this brighter future. A leader who will help unite.
Okay, so now she's done her stump speech. From here out, she talks solely pretty much about Tim Walz. Okay, so she does it 10 minutes, really only about 8 minutes of her stump speech. The rest, the other 15 to 20 minutes, she's going to be talking about him and all of his accomplishments and all, and defining who he is. So, and when you think about that in retrospect to Trump recently, introducing JD Vance and stuff, that's something that he didn't do. That's something he can't do. When given the chance to, take the time to actually define JD and who he was and why he was picked and all that kind of stuff, he didn't. He talked on him for a few minutes, but then he went. But majority of his whole schnit was like about him as usual, because he can't do nothing but talk about himself. Even at the BJ where that horrible interview that he had there, when asked about to talk about JD being ready on day one, he basically just like went off on the fact that it didn't matter, that people aren't voting for him, they're not voting for JD, they're voting for him. I mean, he couldn't even take a moment to really talk about and defend JD even there. It was all about him. But in contrast here, Kamala is going to actually take the time to define Walz. So now she has, she's giving a platform for him and defining who he is, so that people, then have something to grab onto, and then they, it then will be up to, the right or whatever, to then find things to try to attack, you know, to do like a even to attack on them. Where on the other hand, with JD, it was just open season because Trump didn't actually take the time to do so. He didn't take the time to actually try to, you know, let people know who JD was. He just worried about himself, and then it was just a field day for everybody to throw up all the stuff they wanted to on JD, and there was no defense of him at that point. And that's the reason why he quickly became the just absolute lowest rated VP pick damn near in history. So this is the difference here. And Walz will very likely wind up being one of the highest rated VP picks in modern history. Easily. And will easily become one of the most progressive candidates, progressive people in the White House, albeit at a VP level, but nevertheless, since FDR. So this is a huge moment. This is a huge thing, and a huge way of unifying the Democratic Party, like the broad, you know, base.
Our nation and move us forward. A fighter for the middle class, a patriot who believes, as I do, in the extraordinary promise of America. A promise of freedom, opportunity, and justice, not just for some, but for all. So, Pennsylvania, I'm here today because I found such a leader. Governor Tim Walz of the great state of Minnesota. To those who know him best, Tim is more than a governor. To his wife, Gwen, he is a husband. To his kids, Hope and Gus, he is a dad. To his fellow veterans, he is Sergeant Major Walz.
That's big. That's huge.
To the people of southern Minnesota, for 12 years, he was congressman. To his former high school students, he was Mr. Walz. And to his former high school football players, he was Coach. And in 91 days, the nation will know Coach Walz by another name, Vice President of the United States.
Say what you will about her in interviews, which she has historically done horrible at. This is her cup of tea.
So, America, for some folks, they're just getting to know Coach Walz's story. And I'll tell you, he is the proud product of a middle-class family in rural Nebraska. He is a veteran who served our nation in uniform for more than 2 decades as a member of the Army National Guard, and he went to college on the GI Bill. He is someone who, long before he entered politics, worked as a teacher. When Coach Walz and his wife Gwen moved from his native Nebraska to Minnesota nearly 30 years ago, they both took jobs at the local high school.
His wife's a teacher
Coach
too.
Walz taught social studies, Gwen taught English. After school, Tim was the linebackers coach for the football team. Where I've heard the stories about he had a knack for using the game of football to teach life lessons. He saw the potential in kids who sometimes didn't even see it in themselves. Under those Friday night lights, Coach Walz
Everybody
motivated
loves
his
this Friday Night
players
Lights story.
to believe they could achieve anything. And together, they defied the odds, hear this out, going from a winless record to the school's first ever state championship.
Who doesn't like a winner?
Coach. And I'll say and I'll add, Tim wasn't only a role model on the football field. Around that same time, Coach Walz was approached by a student in his social studies class. The young man was one of the first openly gay students at the school and was hoping to start a gay-straight alliance. At a time when acceptance was difficult to find for LGBTQ students, Tim knew the signal that it would send to have a football coach get involved.
Huge. Huge. Huge.
Right? So he signed up to be the group's faculty advisor. And as students have said, he made the school a safe place for everybody. In the high school yearbook, the students voted Coach Walz the, quote, most inspiring faculty member. And as I think everyone here can see, Tim Walz was the kind of teacher and mentor that every child in America dreams of having, and that every kid deserves. The kind of coach, because he's the kind of person who makes people feel like they belong and then inspires them to dream big. And that's the kind of vice president he will be.
We've only just went through his like basic, like we haven't even gotten to his like political stuff yet and the accomplishments that he is, you know, as a politician. We're just talking about him being a teacher. And already compare that to JD Vance. What? Come on.
And that's the kind of Vice President America deserves. So it was Coach Walz's students who actually helped him decide to run for office. And he served 12 years in Congress, representing a purple district as he reached across the aisle to get things done. He was the highest ranking enlisted man to ever serve in the United States Congress. And the top Democrat on the Veterans Committee. And he was known as one of Capitol Hill's best marksmen, winning a bipartisan sharpshooting contest year after year. In Washington, Tim worked to raise the minimum wage, to protect the freedom of workers to join a union, and he cast one of the critical votes to pass the Affordable Care Act. Which, of course, gave health insurance to tens of millions of Americans. I'm going to tell you, when we win, Tim and I will continue to make the Affordable Care Act even stronger.
Hopefully with his influence. And this is what I'm like the biggest on this is for. I'm hoping that he highly influences her in decision making.
Let's talk about what we're dealing with on the other side. So on that last topic, if Donald Trump gets the chance, he will end the Affordable Care Act and take us back to a time when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions. You remember what that was like? Children with asthma,
very good chance.
Breast cancer survivors, grandparents with diabetes. Well, Governor Walz and I will not let that happen. Because we believe health care should be a right and not just a privilege for those who can afford it.
I'm not going to say that he's going to outright do it. But if there's the right people influencing them, there's a very good chance.
Tim has continued to fight for working families. He secured paid leave for workers in Minnesota. And he refused, as governor, to allow any student in their public schools to go hungry. Breakfast and lunch free for every child.
Huge. Huge. How are you going to attack him on that?
And Tim Walz and I, we agree about many things, including when our middle class is strong, America is strong. And strengthening the middle class will be my defining goal as I am President of the United States. So Pennsylvania, ours is a fight for the future of the middle class, and it is a fight for freedom. In this moment, we are witnessing a full-on attack against hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights. Take reproductive freedom. Now think about this. Donald Trump said he wants to punish women. And as a result of his actions, today in America, 1 out of 3 women live in a state with a Trump abortion ban. 1 out of 3.
It's true.
Some of these bans go back to the 1800s.
True. Facts.
Even before women had a right to vote. Think
Facts.
about that. Well, Tim and I have a message for Trump and others who want to turn back the clock on our fundamental freedoms. We're not going back.
Good mantra. That's a good mantra.
We're not going back. And so let me say about Tim Walz, he has shown up to stand against these attacks long before he stood on the stage with me. After Roe was overturned, he was the first governor in the country to sign a new law that enshrined reproductive freedom as a fundamental right. And with Tim Walz by my side when I am President of the United States and we win majorities in the United States Congress, we will pass a bill to restore reproductive freedom, and I will proudly sign it into law.
Write it on the books. We're going to hold her to it.
Tim Walz has also defended the sacred freedom to vote. As governor, he signed the most significant expansion of voting rights in Minnesota in over 50 years. And with Governor Walz's help, when I am president, we are going to finally pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act.
This while Republican states all around the country have been reducing voting, taking away voting places and everything else to make it harder and harder for people to vote. It's just facts. Look it up.
We're going to get it done. So Tim is a hunter and a gun owner who believes, as the majority of gun owners do, that we need reasonable gun safety laws in America. So as governor, he expanded background checks and increased penalties for illegal firearm sales. And together, when we win in November, we are finally going to pass universal background checks, red flag laws, and an assault weapons ban.
That's what she just said.
Through his work, Tim, you know, the way I think about it, he really does shine a light on a brighter future.
Probably won't happen, but
that we can build together. In his state, he has been a model chief executive, and with his experience, I'm telling you, Tim Walz will be ready on day one.
Attack. According to Trump, JD doesn't need to be.
In fact,
that was smart.
When you compare his resume, shall we, to Trump's running mate, well, some might say it's like It's like a matchup between the varsity team and the JV squad.
Assuming that the varsity team's good. I mean, it's a
So,
weird analogy, but
Pennsylvania.
I guess it works.
Ultimately, in this election, we each face a question. What kind of country do we want to live in? A country of freedom, compassion, and rule of law, or a country of chaos, fear, and hate? And here's the beauty of our democracy. We each have the power to answer that question. We each have the power to answer that question. The power is with the people. We love our country, and I believe it is the highest form of patriotism to fight for the ideals of our country. That is how we preserve the promise of America. And after all, you know, the promise of America is what makes it possible for two middle-class kids, one a daughter of Oakland, California,
Relatability.
who was raised by a working mother, the other
You don't have that on the other
a
side.
son of the Nebraska plains who grew up working on a farm. It's the promise of America, because only in America is it possible for them together to make it all the way to the White House.
You gotta admit,
Only in America.
it's good.
Only in America.
Proud, loves it, eating it up.
Only in America. That's right. That's right. And so Coach Walz and I may hail from different corners of our great country, but our values are the same. And we both believe in lifting people up, not knocking them down. He and I, we both know the vast majority of people in our country have so much more in common than what separates them. When we look at folks, we see in our fellow Americans neighbors, not enemies. Not enemies. And so my promise to you is this. Our campaign will reach out to everyone, from red states to blue states, from the heartland to the coast, in rural, urban, suburban, and tribal communities. We are running a campaign on behalf of all Americans. And when elected, we will govern on behalf of all Americans. And so, with Tim Walz by my side, and with all of you at our side, let us fight for the promise of our future. And with that, I ask Pennsylvania, are you ready to make your voices heard? Do we believe in freedom? Do we believe in opportunity? President of the United States, Tim Walz.
The excitement is huge. RNC doesn't know how, Trump doesn't know how to face this. This is not what they expected.
Thank you, Philadelphia.
And this dude is, he's something else.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, for the trust you put in me, but maybe more so, thank you for bringing back the joy.
So yeah, she did her thing. She did it good. I have to admit it. I mean, you can hear it in the crowd. You can hear it in the excitement, the momentum, the everything. It's just through the freaking roof. And like I said, Trump, RNC, they don't know how to face this. They're turning, rolling over on themselves, not knowing what to do. They didn't expect this. I honestly don't think anybody did. If I'm being truly honest, I certainly didn't. This is a complete 180 turn from just a few weeks ago. I mean, where the party and even broad, coalition was split, not unified. Those who straight up, refused or to support Biden, or either didn't feel good about him because of his age and stuff, to those who were standing behind him, making excuses and everything else for him, to now, after just a few weeks, the whole damn base and is blowing up. The excitement, the talk, the rhetoric, everything. And now it's even, and she's already before this announcement, she was already in most polls tied with Trump, or etching out a half point, 2 point or so, depending upon the poll, depending upon the state, in some polls. Now, after this, and people get to know who he is, watching this video, this crowd, and come on. There's about to be, I have this wild feeling there's about to be a huge split happen in the polling. Huge.
I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you and Doug, this incredible journey. And Pennsylvania, I know you know this, but my God, what a treasure you have in Josh Shapiro.
He has charisma through the roof.
Holy hell, can this guy bring the fire? He can bring the fire. This is a visionary leader. Also, I have to tell you,
too.
Everybody in America knows when you need a bridge fixed, call that guy. And I think sometimes we forget, and you see people a little one-dimensional, but seeing a guy who cares so deeply about his family, a man with compassion, vision, and I'll have to tell you this, I know this from experience, there is no one you would rather go to a Springsteen concert in Jersey with than him, than that guy. Bruce. And I can't wait for all of you and America to get to know my incredible wife, Gwen, a 29-year public school educator. Don't ever underestimate teachers. and our two beautiful kids, Hope and Gus. I couldn't be prouder to be on this ticket and to help Vice President Harris become what we all know is very, very good for us to think about, next President of the United States of America. From her first day as a prosecutor, as a district attorney, Attorney General of the great state of California, a United States Senator, and Vice President of the United States. Vice President Harris has fought on the side of the American people. She took on the predators, she took on the fraudsters, she took down the transnational gangs, she stood up against powerful corporate interests, and she never hesitated to reach across the aisle if it meant improving people's lives.
Like I said, she could be hitting on some stuff, but
And I want all of you to hold this, and don't ever underestimate the power of this. She does it all with a sense of joy. I know a little something about that commitment to people. I was born in West Point, Nebraska. I lived in Butte, a small town of 400, where community was a way of life. Growing up, I spent the summers working on the family farm. My mom and dad taught us, show generosity towards your neighbors and work for a common good.
simple. American culture.
My dad served in the Army during the Korean War. And with his encouragement, at 17, I joined the Army National Guard. For 24 years, I proudly wore the uniform of this nation.
Nobody on the other side could say that.
The National Guard gave me purpose. It gave me the strength of a shared commitment to something greater than ourselves. And just as it did for my dad and millions of others, the GI Bill gave me a shot at a college education.
Matter of fact, Trump ran from it.
My dad was a teacher. My brothers and sisters and I followed in their footsteps. 3 out of 4 of us married teachers. It's what we do. For nearly 20 years, I had the privilege of teaching high school social studies and coaching football. Including winning that state championship. Thank you. Don't ever close the yearbook. Don't ever. But it was my students. They encouraged me to run for office. They saw in me what I was hoping to instill in them, a commitment of common good, a belief that one person can make a difference. So in 2006, I took a leap and I ran for Congress. And because high school teachers are super optimistic, I was running in a district that had 1 Democrat since 1892. Well, my neighbors graced me with an opportunity to represent them in the United States House of Representatives. I'm proud of the work we did there together. I worked across the aisle on veterans issues, on agriculture, and on ways to grow rural economies. I learned the art of compromise without compromising my values.
That's huge. That speaks.
And now, as governor of the great state of Minnesota, I bring those experiences to bear in tackling the challenges that are facing our great state. Minnesota's strength comes from our values, our commitment to working together, to seeing past our differences, to always being willing to lend a helping hand. Those are the same values I learned on the family farm and tried to instill in my students. I took it to Congress and to the state capitol, And now, Vice President Harris and I are running to take those very values to the White House.
Huge. Huge.
Now, Donald Trump sees the world a little differently than us. First of all, he doesn't know the first thing about service.
Damn. Damn.
He doesn't have time for it because he's too busy serving himself.
Damn. Facts.
Again and again and again, Trump weakens our economy to strengthen his own hand. He mocks our laws. He sows chaos and division. And that's to say nothing of his record as president.
Facts.
He froze in the face of the COVID crisis. He drove our economy into the ground. And make no mistake, violent crime was up under Donald Trump.
It was.
That's not even counting the crimes he committed.
Damn. Told you. He's...
You know, some of us are... Some of us in here are old enough to remember. I see you down there. I see those old white guys. Some of us are old enough to remember when it was Republicans who were talking about freedom. It turns out now what they meant was the government should be free to invade your doctor's office.
It's...
In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make. Even if we wouldn't make the same choice for ourselves, there's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business.
That's his big one.
These guys are after my heart chanting, mind your own damn business. That feels good, so thank you. Look, that includes IVF, and this gets personal for me and my family. When my wife and I decided to have children, we spent years going through infertility treatments. And I remember praying every night for a call for good news. The pit in my stomach when the phone rang, and the agony when we heard that the treatments hadn't worked. So it wasn't by chance that when we welcomed our daughter into the world, we named her Hope. When Vice President and I talk about freedom, we mean the freedom to make your own health care decisions. And for our children to be free to go to school without worrying they'll be shot dead in their classrooms.
It's...
By the way, as you heard, I was one of the best shots in Congress, but in Minnesota, we believe in the Second Amendment, but we also believe in common sense gun violence laws. Vice President Harris' idea of freedom is a ticket for education to be that ticket to the middle class, not crippling debt. Air that's clean, water that's pure, communities that are safe. A place where we settle our political differences not through violence, but with our votes. And that's what this election's about. What direction will this country go in? He's not going back. Well, Donald Trump would damn sure take us backwards. Let's be clear about that. And don't believe him when he plays dumb. He knows exactly what Project 2025 will do to restrict our freedoms.
Yes, he does. He's full of shit, acting like he doesn't know.
To rig the economy to help the super rich. If Trump gets a chance to return, he's going to pick up exactly where he left off 4 years ago. Only this time, it will be much, much worse. Raising costs on middle-class family. He will repeal the Affordable Care Act, no doubt about it. He'll gut Social Security and Medicare. And when somebody tells you are, they believe him. He said he'd ban abortion across this country, and he'll do it, whether or not Congress is there or not. Donald Trump's not fighting for you or your family.
I actually thought he was going to hit him as being a dictator or
He never sat
something.
at that kitchen table like the one I grew up at, wondering how we were going to pay the bills. He sat at his country club up in Mar-a-Lago, wondering how he can cut taxes for his rich friends. And I got to tell you, his running mate shares his dangerous and backward agenda for this country.
He's hitting. He's hitting.
J.D. Vance literally wrote the foreword for the architect of the Project 2025 agenda.
Facts. Facts.
Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, J.D. studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires, and then wrote a bestseller trashing that community. Come on. That's not what middle America is. And I got to tell you, I can't wait to debate the guy.
Shots thrown. He will crush J.D. Vance. No doubt. He will crush J.D. Vance in a debate.
That is, if he's willing to get off the couch and show up. So, you see what I did there?
The charisma is off the charts with this guy. He's funny.
Look.
I honestly wish he was the one going for president. But VP's a good start.
You know it, you feel it. These guys are creepy, and yes, just weird as hell. That's what you see. That's what you see. So you know what's out there, so say it with me. We aren't going back. We aren't going back. We are not going back.
The energy is just wild.
So we got 91 days. My God, that's easy. We'll sleep when we're dead. Over those next 91 days and every day in the White House, I'll have Vice President Harris's back. Every single day. And we'll have yours. You know how this works. We can't do it alone. We need you, each and every one of you. Go over to KamalaHarris.com, get on board, because we need you. Freedom to make our own choices. This leader, this compassionate, careful, joyous leader believes in each and every one of you. My God, you came here tonight to sit at the very top because you love this country and you're not going back.
This guy's.
She believes in the opportunity for every single person to join the middle class. She believes in the promise of America. We just got to fight. We just got to fight. Because as soon-to-be President Harris says, when we fight, we win. Thank you, Philadelphia. Thank you, Vice President. God bless America.
And that, my friends, is Tim Walz.
Thanks for that. Let's talk about it now. Joining me, Peter Alexander. He is on.
Let's not. Yeah. So that's him. The excitement. Let me get rid of this. The excitement. Ooh, that may have echoed. The excitement around this is off the charts. Energy through the roof. I mean, this is huge and the absolute best decision that she could have made. The momentum is crazy, and if you would asked us, like anybody, just a month ago, that we would be right here right now, nobody would have thought it. And you know, I've been personally, when you know, with Harris, it's been like, you know, kind of on the fence about, you know, whether I haven't been. I've been patient and waiting on how she was going to go forward. You know, we've had back and forth like reports and stuff about how she was going to basically, like, you know, especially like foreign stuff. She was going to gut a lot of the people, you know, and that she very well was kind of possibly going to stamp out a different direction and like make her own lane away from Biden. But it was like, you know, will she actually do it? You know, we had, you know, of course, because of the whole issue going on, you know, overseas, and was any of that going to pull her, you know, back towards, you know, back in line? And that particular side is still yet to be seen, really. But this pick, though, in my opinion, very strongly, like, identifies her in, well, it could go two ways. It could just be a straight up just political decision, as far as like an election decision, to help pull in the other side, you know, pull in progressives, pull in farther left, you know, members of the party, even bring in some potential older voters that, you know, she struggles with. That's like the demographic that she struggles the most with. She pretty much is decent with young people and middle-aged people and whatnot, and, you know, black, white community, either one. But old people is where she was struggling. He very much will help with that. So he could very well help with a lot of states that were kind of out of the question, maybe now are a little bit more in question, as far as pulling, you know, blue, turning blue, or, you know, going blue. So this, it very well could be the decision that solidifies her to the White House. And it's huge. And the more people that watch like that rally, that see him out, we get a debate. Of course, there's still this whole issue going on between her and Trump and whether or not they're going to debate. She's basically saying she's going to be at the ABC debate that was originally discussed, and if he doesn't show up, then she's going to basically just use it as a platform to speak to the American people. And he keeps throwing up that he's going to be at this supposed Fox um, debate that was never scheduled, and or whatever. So he really just flipped her card and saying that he's going to basically do the same thing. She should show up there. But it if I was Kamala, I would show up at both just to prove and show that she's not scared. I think she should be at the ABC one. If he doesn't show up, fine. And even though she didn't actually, agree to the Fox News one, which is hilarious how he wants Fox News when he's been bashing Fox News for a long time now. I guess he's back in their good grace, or they're back in his good graces. I don't know. But I think she should show up at that one as well, even though she didn't agree to it, just to show the strength. If she did that too, man, I think she should do it either way. Whether she does, I don't know, but certainly him against JD. Oh my God, that would be a debate for the history books, man. He will eat him alive. He will. And while everybody, says that Trump will eat Harris alive, at this point, I'm not completely sure. I'm not sure that he actually knows how to go at her. Without coming off looking like a just complete asshole. Which, he doesn't really have a problem with doing, but it's not going to help. It's not going to help him election wise to do that. So yeah, this was huge. This was major. The best thing that that the best decision that I could have hoped for. So, because I was really hoping for him to be picked. I didn't think he would, but here we are. So this is big, and big going forward. Like if she, they were to win the the House. I mean, you were looking at the potential for 28, and then again in 32. Like and just to get the idea of getting a progressive in the House, and seeing if he can actually influence like policies and things, and so the American people can finally see what it would be like to have someone that's more progressive like that, in getting policies and the effects that it could have on the on the country positively. Man, that would be huge. It's the momentum that we were seeing back in 16 behind Bernie Sanders and stuff like that has faded over the last 4 years or so, or arguably more, but is now right back at it. I mean, it's like where we were thinking, oh man, there's nothing here. There's they're not willing to go there. This is just not the time. The Democratic Party is not ready for it. Well, here we are. A quick change, and man, would it be huge. If they could, you're looking at the potential for them, for that ticket to be 8 years, and then he would naturally, more than likely, become the 32 nominee. And if he was to turn around and pick somebody like, say, shit, I don't know, AOC or something, I mean, what? Man, come on. We could finally take over and show what we've been trying to show people for years. And it would be fantastic. I know this is a very long video, but I felt like showing the whole thing was worth it. You know, showing her ability to speak, for one. Like I said, she has had a horrible history in interviews. Not, you know, confidence wise, I think was most of her problem. That's what I've noticed. When she's not confident, she's a complete just blob. I mean, she can't do anything. But when she's highly confident and in a situation where she's confident, she knows what she's doing. And she does it well. You know, like it or not, she does. So, and I do think that she has had some pointers given to her, whether it was from Obama or somebody. She's had definitely seems like she's had some kind of something told to her, taught to her or something. So yeah, this is I can't see where, and completely knocks out everybody else. I mean, the stuff coming out about RFK now is just he's done. And it already was no real lane for someone like Jill Stein, or and certainly not what's his name? Oh, my mind goes blank when I least need it to. Anyway, it's just no lane for them. There's no excitement and momentum behind them. Not enough. Although I think Jill Stein would be good, I really do. But this now, I don't think we need it. With Tim Walz now on the ticket, I don't see where we need it. And if they would all actually coalesce, if they were to drop out and coalesce and go with her, and I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying, like, if they did, and like completely, truly unify everybody, man, come on. Trump and JD don't have a chance in hell. It will be an embarrassment. Anyway, if you like this content, if you like what you see here, consider subscribing, like, share, all that good stuff. Let me know what you think. Do you think that this was a good decision? Did you think that was, you know, what was shown there is giving Elaine an opportunity for an explosive election change here, like momentum and it's because for me, this has completely changed the election. 100% completely changed it. And honestly, it's weird for me to say, but I'm actually excited about. I'm actually excited about Kamala Harris. That's stupid, but you know But it's because of Walz. I'm actually excited for him and the influence that he could possibly give in the right moments. Yeah. So, and the future going forward. So anyways, thank you very much. And yeah, let me know what you think. Until next time, peace. Clear Talk. I'm out.